Hello everybody, welcome back to the September Mix podcast. So my name is Claire, I'm a knitter and generally creative person from the French-speaking part of Switzerland. I go to university and I study psychology there. So today isn't a classic podcast in the sense that I'm not going to show you my works in progress and the items that I've recently finished, although I'm going to show you some of the items that I've knit from the list of patterns that I'm going to tell you about in this video. So yeah, I thought I was quickly going to pop in and tell you about some patterns that I found recently or that I've known for a long time. Patterns are quick to knit. Most of them are free. I think the last two ones in the list are paid for patterns, but I could not find a free alternative for them, unfortunately. And yeah, just in time, I guess, for the holiday season if you're celebrating Christmas, but there are good ideas, I think, I hope, for any other holiday, birthday, or even for yourself. And yeah, all of these patterns are quite quick knits. They require not like huge amount of yarn. So you can just like dig in your stash, find some balls laying around and use them, put them to your good use for your gifts. Today I'm wearing a tiny, I don't know if you can actually see it, a tiny little scrunchie that I've actually sewn quite a while ago because I thought it was kind of in the spirit of, well, Christmas, the holiday season, whatever you're celebrating really, and I put in a little candle, which is very stereotypical of YouTube, but oh well, puts me in the spirit, I guess, because it's still quite early in the season. There's plenty of time before the holiday season really, and I thought it was just the perfect opportunity to show you some gifts that you still have plenty of time to make. So I've decided to concentrate on really quick patterns to whip up. Now, if you're like very like planning oriented and you've already started on your Christmas presents, or if you're watching this a little bit later on, that you still have time to do if you so wish, so. I hope you will enjoy the video, and we'll get started with the first category of patterns, which is hats. But I've tried not to include too many hats because I feel like this is kind of the stereotypical gift idea for the holiday season. So yeah, we're just going to breeze through them and get to the other things. So hope you will enjoy. So the first category of patterns I want to tell you about, I thought that I was going to quickly get it out of the way so we're done with hats, because, well, a lot of people talk about hats a lot for Christmas presents or holiday presents. The first pattern is called the Beanie by Zeezee Textiles. It is a free pattern and I think it is the kind of ultimate classic beanie pattern with a brim. There are different options for you to knit it. You can either knit it with a fingering plus 2 strands of lace, so 2 strands of mohair, or 3 strands of mohair if you want an extra cozy and fluffy version, or also 1 strand of decor. So it's quite adaptable. I think it exists in different sizes. I've downloaded the pattern, but I haven't knitted it yet, so I'm not too sure anymore. But it looks very good and very adaptable. The second pattern, also a free one, is called Oranges and Lemons, 214 little, like, not a slash, can't remember the name in English, one. It's a bit of a weird name because it's a pattern by Drops, the yarn brand. They have a lot of free patterns. There are a few controversies about them, but I think this one is a very classic pattern, so we should be good, I guess. This is a simple ribbed, super bulky weights hat. So here is my version. I actually knit it a few years ago for my dad. it's very easy. Here it is. You're not going to really see anything because it's black, but you can see one by one rib makes it very stretchy. It's going to fit a lot of hats, although I think they might have 2 sizes. I should check, but I think they do. And super bulky weight makes it super quick to knit. I think in a few hours you can be done with this hat, and this kind of very like basic hats is very useful. Would be very useful for a lot of people. You can play with the colors and like maybe even add color work, I think. Although with ribbing, I'm not too sure. Could be like a little bit more complicated. Well, never mind. But it calls for drop snow. So this is their super bulky kind of yarn that drops cells for 350 grams skeins, and I remember I had 3 skeins and I had, I think, a little bit left over. So with my leftover I actually made a pom-pom, which is not in the pattern, but I added one. And you're going to be like, wow, did it just break? No, I actually made it removable for the hat, from the hat, so that I can wash it. Well, the person, it was for my dad, he can wash it easier if he wants to. And although if he wants to wash his hat, he's probably gonna ask me because he's afraid that it's going to felt. But yeah, it makes it easier to wash, and you can just like choose to wear it with or without a pom-pom. So what I did was I just added a little button. Are you going to see anything? Here it is, little button, and when you do your decreases, like it's knit top, bottom, up, there's like a little hole on the top, which is no problem in my opinion. When you wear it, you just like can't tell, but it's perfect to just like put your little button inside, and just, it's not super easy to put in because otherwise it would fall off on its own. So I'm kind of struggling here, but I want to show you. Okay, here it is. So here it is with the little pom-pom. I don't know, I think it looks very cute. You could make the pom-pom in a different color than the hat for a little bit of originality, and yeah, very classic beanie hat that anybody could enjoy, I think. So the last hat pattern is a very classic one. It's called the Classic Ribbed Hat by Purl. This is an infamous pattern, really. I feel like everybody has heard about it, but I thought I was still going to include it because just in case, you know. I think I really want to knit this pattern in the future. It's free, like I think all of Purl Soho's patterns. It calls for cashmere, a cashmere yarn that they sell, but I would not knit it in cashmere yarn, not really in my budget. It calls for 2 skeins of DK, or like 50 grams by 100 meters of their yarn. So I think you could just like play around, add mohair if you want to, or just like a DK weight, a bit like a blend of alpaca and wool, or anything you would want. This is very like classic hat, and I think it exists in kids sizes, so, and male sizes, because generally men have bigger heads. So yeah, you can just like play around with it, and it's very adaptable. Alright, so next category of patterns is the mitten one. There's actually just 3 patterns, but it's kind of a hefty one because for one pattern I put in 2 alternatives of quite similar patterns, also free ones. These are all free, and let's just get to it. So the first one I want to tell you about is the Patronus Mittens by Amanda Sund, which calls for iron weight, so it being 50 grams by 100 meters. And it has 2 colors, so I don't know if it's 1 ball of each of these colors. You can just check out the pattern, it is free, and I feel like this would be, it's such like a cute pattern. with the little deer with its antlers, and it looks really nice, but it would be like extra special for any Harry Potter fans out there and your loved ones. Yeah, it doesn't scream Harry Potter, but it's still like a little nice little reference to it, and I think it looks really great. Second pattern, oh, there's a lot of light suddenly, don't know if you could tell that, is called the Cloudburst by Arienne Gray. These are fingerless mittens. Very famous one, also a free pattern that a lot of people have knit. I learned about this pattern a while ago in Tricot Libre's podcast. So Emma, she's a French knitting podcaster on YouTube, which I really love. I love her videos, they're really great. It calls for fingering or sport weight yarn and just one ball of 50 grams. This is quite... like, it's a very good stash busting project. I think almost anybody has a 50 grams of fingering or sport weight yarn laying around, and it represents a very good option to use it. Very cost efficient, and these mittens are just quite adorable with the little lace details that doesn't look too difficult to make. So the first alternative to this pattern is called the Fingerless Gloves Leaves by Valentina Fezova-Georgieva. Hope I'm pronouncing this somewhat right. This calls for 50 grams of Arienne weight yarn. It is also free, and I think it looks lovely. These first two mittens have lace details on them, and I think it's a very wearable lace, because sometimes lace can feel, at least for me, I know that it feels a little bit like over the top with my style. I'm quite like a simple. I quite like simple things, so I think lace details on mittens could be the perfect little added detail without it being too much for me and me not ever wearing them. So I think these are great options for gifts for your loved ones or yourself. Knit them all for yourself. I'm over it, really. The third option for fingerless mittens is the Lusekofte-sque mitts by Mary Rourke. These are colorwork mittens, and I included them to show you that you can just like knit colorwork, and well, the pattern in itself looks really good, but also it can inspire you to add colorwork to otherwise basic mittens, and just like modify them if you want a little bit. It could be really interesting and not too difficult, plus the added benefit of colorwork. Fair Isle style is that you get a little, like a double thickness almost, because you carry your other yarn, other colors in the background, so it's extra warm and toasty, which can be a great thing for mittens. So the third pattern in this mittens category is the World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits. This is one of the probably top 10 most knitted patterns on Ravelry ever. You can really adapt them. I actually knit a pair. I actually knit a pair for my dad for, was it this past Christmas? I think so. Here they are. Knit them in like basic fingering weight style, grey. Love the colour. I'm gonna try them on for you. And actually this pattern has the advantage. I don't think there's something you can say in English, but it is great because you can knit it with any gauge. So any yarn you may have laying around, you can use it for this pattern and it accommodates for it. This I knit in finger weight, fingering weight, sorry. This is actually sock yarn, superwash, which makes them, the superwash, not super warm, so I wouldn't recommend stock weight maybe for colder climates, but I think they look great. They're a bit too big on me because they're for my dad, who has bigger hands than me, but they're very adaptable. You can knit the cuff shorter or a lot longer than this. You can do like different types of ribbon, like this is 1x1, but this is like twisted 1x1. You can knit it like 2x2 or other kinds of ribbons. I really like the decreases. Are you going to see anything? I don't think you will. Behind my face. Ooh, focusing. Well, never mind. I think they look really good. They're a very basic pair of mittens that you can just like modify it according to your tastes. You can add color work to them, inspiring you with the other pattern that I just told you about. You can really do a lot of things and they're free. So this is it for the mittens. The next category of things is the decoration and house things. This is really the miscellaneous category. I thought we were going to take a little break from the wearable items here and talk about other things that might be a little bit more original. So the first thing is the hot water bottle cover by Maker, which is an item that I've already talked about in my podcast in the very first episode. If you want to check that out, have more information about it. I actually knit my dad one of these. So this is a knitted cover for hot water bottles. I don't know about your country, but in Switzerland they're quite popular. I feel like they're really great for the colder season when you're just like a little bit chilly inside in your bed, on the couch, or if you're feeling a bit under the weather and just like want something warm to keep you relaxed and, well, toasty. This is a great pattern. It is free. I knit it 3 times. This is a version in Alaska by Drops. I knit a version in Lima by Drops and another version in Nepal by Drops. So this is a very adaptable pattern for different yarn weights. It's an interesting construction. You begin here with an interesting cast on, and you can just like really, depending on the size of your hot water bottle, adapt it for it to fit perfectly. It's very easy. There is like tutorials online for the cast on, so this is great, and I think this is a great gift. You can also knit color work on it if you wish so. This calls for 2 skeins of sport or DK weight yarn, but as I was telling you, I think you can just adapt it and knit it almost however you want it. Maybe not in super bulky way, or you would really have to adapt the number of stitches you cast on with. Okay, next thing is actually a crochet item, which I think is a first on my channel. I really think so. So this is the Christmas Gnome in crochet by Sarah Shearer. She's an amazing designer. She designs, well, she has other kinds of patterns, but she designs a lot of little gnomes, which are absolutely adorable. Like, I really want to knit one. I think they're all paid for patterns except this one. So this is why I'm telling you about this one in particular, but if you're willing to spend a little bit of money on patterns, her other patterns are amazing, and I'm definitely going to cast one on in not too much time. So yeah, there are 2 sizes. You can make a small or a big gnome. I think you just like change the type of yarn, the thickness of the yarn that you're using, and calls for DK weight. Well, you can probably adapt the size more if you change the type of yarn. Okay, well, never mind. This is a great gift. I think it's so cute. I don't think anybody would be mad at getting that kind of gift for the holiday season. It's just very adorable. Tiny or big, if you want to, piece of decoration that looks really cool and quite original, in my opinion. I'm always looking down here, by the way, because I have my notes and I don't want to forget any important information, so sorry about that. The next thing is once again something that I dropped on the floor. Oop. Okay, organization. Also a crochet item, and this is probably like the most original one of my whole list. I don't know. By the way, this is the call for my boyfriend to leave the video. He's been watching all of my videos, which is absolutely heartwarming. I love that. But yeah, this is going to be probably part of his Christmas gift. So Mark, bye. So this is the leaf bookmark by Olga Poltava. She's a crochet designer, specifically lace crochet, which is so impressive. This is so great. My version, this one, is I haven't like put the weaved in the ends or stiffened it. I think it's called stiffening crochet. Like you just spray it with water and cornstarch, I think. Have to check that out. I'm not very good at crochet. I don't have a lot of experience with it, which is why it might be like full of mistakes. If you're good at crochet, bear with me. But yeah, I made a version and I think it looks really good actually, even though like I know there are mistakes, but like the different colors together, I quite like it. And when it will be a little bit more stiff, it will make the perfect bookmark, I think. So as you can see, I used different colors for it. She uses in her pattern thinner yarn, but I didn't really have any, and I had a lot of embroidery thread that I wanted to use, but not enough to like make the whole thing, so I decided to just like make a little gradient of color, which I think looks good. So yeah, I hope it will be a success at Christmas, hopefully. So yeah, I think no, that is not it. There's a last little item of miscellaneous things, which is on the floor, which is a scrunchie. So I don't have any particular pattern to tell you about for the scrunchies, because you can probably like imagine one, and it's very dependent on the hair that you have or your loved one has. I know for me, I have quite a lot of hair and it's quite thick, so I made it quite big. I'm actually going to give this to my mum because she has shorter hair, but her hair is quite thick and she has like a lot of it. So this is going to my mum, definitely. I talked about it in my first podcast, but then decided that since like this orangey color is her favorite color, or one of her favorite colors, I was going to give it to her as part of her Christmas gift. So yeah, there's a little bit more information in my first podcast once again about it. Yeah, it's very easy. Let me know if you I don't think I'm qualified to make tutorials on knitting, like I'm not good enough of a knitter, but for this I think I could make a short video if you need help. If you don't, then that's great, but if you do, like let me know and I could totally make a little tutorial for it. And I think this is a gift for any person with long hair that they would appreciate. A hand knitted scrunchie, which is very like, you can knit it especially like in a color that they like, and it's a great stash busting project. So yeah, this could be a good option for you. Next pattern category is socks. So I feel like socks are a very good holiday gift, because like a hand knitted pair of socks, especially if it's super wash and people can just like put it in the washing machine without fear of it felting, is always a good idea. So the first pair of socks I want to tell you about is the Laid Edges by Kellie Mcpherson. This calls for 2 skeins of DK weight sock yarn, and it is once again a free pattern. So I think these socks look really good. I wanted to knit them in the DK weight sock yarn that I have, which is Perfect by Sandnes Garn, but my gauge doesn't match and I'm not experienced enough in socks to modify it. so I think I'm going to put them off to some other time, but I think they look really good, and the thicker the yarn, the quicker the project, so it could represent a really great Christmas, well, holiday gift, or gifts if you don't have like a lot of time but you still want to give them socks. Second pattern is called The Day of Socks by Jessica Gore. It's fingering weight pattern. These are quite short socks, so it's not too much knitting. And once again, it's a free pattern, and it is a toe up construction. So I thought it was interesting to include a toe up construction in my patterns ideas. So if you want to try this construction, change it up a little bit, because I feel like top down, so you start with the cuff and end with the toes, is the more popular option, but I think this is interesting. Definitely gonna knit them sometime. This could be a great option. Or as an alternative to that, the Weekend Shorty Socks by Summer Lee Designs is also a good option, especially if you want to use some leftover sock yarn that you may have. Her patterns are really great. She has a couple options of free patterns which are really well written, I think. And this one in particular is not too much knitting because they're quite short, but still like very fun. It looks like a very fun knit and a little bit unusual, but still very easy to knit, I think, and a good option in general to use your yarn that you already have in stash. So the last sock pattern for today is the Hermione's Everyday Socks by Erica Lueder. This is in the like top 10 most knitted patterns on Ravelry, so you've probably heard about it. This is a fingering weight pattern, quite beginner friendly. There are tutorials on YouTube taking you through like all of the socks. This is actually a sock that I'm knitting at the moment. I'm not sure my yarn choice was the best one. I've lost some stitches. I'm knitting them magic loop with 2.25 needles. They're like men's size. Obviously haven't finished them. You can see my version. Not too sure of the yarn choice. As I was saying, this is the heel. This is a top-down construction, but the yarn, by the way, is Fable by Drops, but they're quite fun, and I made them like super long. Well, not super long, but long for my opinion, I think. These are probably going to be for my dad. So here they are. Always a good classic, I think. The last category of patterns is a shawls, scarves and cowl category. So well done for hanging in there. This is the last one. The first one I want to tell you about is not a free pattern. This category is actually all paid for patterns. There are just like 3 patterns I want to tell you about, all paid for, unfortunately, but I think they might be good options. So the first one is the infamous, although quite recent, Sophie scarf that everybody has been raving about. This is very popular for a reason. It calls for just a little bit of yarn, really. I think it's like 1 skein of Sport DK yarn? I'm not sure. I don't plan on knitting it because personally it's not really my style, but there is an alternative which I'm going to tell you about just like now. The Sophie scarf though, it looks so great on other people, but it's just like, I know if I knit it for myself I was not going to wear it. But super quick project, the construction is quite interesting, it's quite addictive, you always want to knit to the next like increase or decrease. I know that because I am currently knitting on the alternative I was telling you about, which is the Sophie shawl. So this calls for way more yarn. She uses cashmere in her pattern. I am not using cashmere, not in my budget, but here is my version. I haven't like weaved in any of the ends, so you get to like see all the mess, but this is difficult to see. I will show it better in my next regular podcast video. This is great though. I love knitting on it. It's such a good project to like have on the go. You don't really have to like count anything, or yeah, it's just like it looks very nice. This is going to be my mum's Christmas present. Has an I-cord edge on both sides, and you can see here that I've started the decreases now. So this is the little like most like biggest parts of the shawl, and this is not the word, never mind. And then you like start the decreases and you end up with the number of stitches that you have at the beginning. So this is that. I've been loving this project, and I thought I was going to tell you about it because I haven't really found a good alternative, like free alternative for these kinds of patterns, although I'm sure there are many and that I just didn't dig deep enough. So yeah. The last pattern of this list is another paid for pattern. It's called the Spiritual Garden Cowl by Heather and Hops. So she is very well known on the, well, knitting side of YouTube. She has a podcast. She is such a lovely person. I just love watching her podcast. She's very calming and just very, I don't know, in French we would say bienveillant, which means just like generally a good person who has good intentions. I feel like, I don't know her personally, but it's the image she gives off, at least for me. So she designed this cowl, which I find so great. It costs £4, I believe. So it's a paid for, but not like super expensive. You can knit it in one strand of fingering and one strand of mohair, or alternatively in one strand of DK weight yarn. It has 4 different sizes, so the smallest size, if maybe that would be a great idea if you don't have much time to knit the smallest size, less knitting that way. You have like a longer or shorter versions, I think, and the biggest size calls in like fingering, weight and mohair and DK calls for 2 fingering skeins and 2 skeins of mohair, or like 2 skeins of DK, I believe. So even in its biggest version, biggest and coziest, fluffiest version, it's only 2 skeins of yarn, or 4 skeins if you knit it with mohair. So I think this is also a great stash busting present that looks so great. I haven't knitted it. I think this is going to be one of my next projects because I just fell in love. I remember her talking about it in her podcast and me thinking that it looked so great, but I rediscovered it recently and it just like very cute and very lovely. I really want to knit it. So yeah, we're all done here. I hope this was interesting video, or that you maybe learned about a pattern, found this useful in some way. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for watching. I wanted to thank you quickly also for the, well, English is disappearing again. Basically my last video that I posted, which is called Why I'm Not Going to Buy Any More Yarn, I think, you guys have been absolutely amazing on that video. I've received so many interesting comments, thoughtful people replying, giving out their opinions, so that was really great and such a warm welcome for this video. So I wanted to thank you for the engagement that it has, and tell you, well, thank you for watching this channel. It brings a lot of warmth to my heart, and yeah, great. So have a lovely rest of the day or evening or night, and see you in not too much time, I hope. Bye.